Friends, will you breathe with me? It's been a hectic morning here in the sanctuary, and I need the support of your breath. Our organist, Carl, needs the support of your breath as well because he's coming from the organ to the piano. So let us breathe again. I fear I was a little overambitious with this morning's worship play. Will you breathe with me to help me know it's okay?
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, O my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, O my soul. Sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, oh my soul. Speak for me. Speak for me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Dance with me. Dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul.
You may be seated. Good morning, Benvenuto. Welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Society of Burlington. I am Reverend Karen G. Johnston. My pronouns are she and hers. I am the senior minister here and so happy to be leading this multi-generational Sunday service with our Director of Lifespan Faith Development, Erica Reef. We are so glad you are here In this shared work of building community and making meaning in our lives, we are people of many backgrounds, many sexual orientations and gender identities, many stories. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. We share a commitment to each other and to Unitarian Universalist values of pluralism, transformation, interdependence, generosity, equity, and justice with love at the center. We welcome all who are welcoming. Today's service is one we believe will speak to many ages as it focuses on something that we all must come to know at different stages of our lives, what it is to lose something or someone we love, and how to move through the sadness and grief that comes. We're having this as the focus because this time of year is a time that many traditions and cultures recognize as a time when we think of those who have died and our relationship to ancestors. Perhaps it's tied to the change of seasons and recognizing how nature is showing us the colors of change and loss. The story we are about to tell is based on the book Tear Soup, written by Pat Schwiebert and Chuck DeClen, and illustrated by Taylor Bills. When you look at it, Erica has it in her hands, it looks like it's a children's book, but don't be fooled. It is a message for all of us, no matter our age. If this is your first or your second time attending, might you have the courage to raise your hand so that we might welcome you and give you, yes, thank you, welcome. It is so good to see you. We have welcome ambassadors, though all of us are welcome ambassadors, but today specifically Carolyn smiles, and Richard smiles, and Betsy Thayer. Would you please stand so you can see who you are? Questions can go to anyone, but they might actually know the answers. And for those of us who are present in the sanctuary, I want to give you a few moments to greet a neighbor, including getting up and moving nearby to extend a welcome and make a connection. And for those of us who are joining us on the live stream live as opposed to pre-recorded, you could go get a coffee or maybe stretch. You got a few minutes, please say hello to each other. Okay, friends, I hope you find each other later at coffee hour, but if you could sit back down, that would be lovely. In addition to being a different service, you've noticed we don't have our usual stone ritual table up front. It is in the back. Anytime throughout the service, if you are moved to set a stone down because it is a joy, a gratitude, or a sorrow that you need to lay down, go into the back and please create the impermanent image of who we are today. I believe coffee hour after the service is outside on our front lawn because the sun is still shining. Hopefully you brought enough layers. Friends, whatever it took to get you here this morning, we express gratitude for your presence and your participation.
There was once an old and somewhat wise lady named, whom everyone called Grandy. She just suffered a big loss in her life. Pops, her husband, suffered the same loss, but in his own way. This is the story of how Grandy faced her loss by setting out to make tear soup, For many years, the custom of making tear soup had been forgotten. As people's lives became more rushed, they found it much easier to pull soup in a can from the shelf and heat it on the stove. But several years ago, Grandy got a taste of a well-seasoned tear soup. One of her friends had made it from scratch after her child died. As soon as Grandy tasted the rich flavor of that carefully made soup, she promised herself she would never again assume that quicker was better.
Like making most soups, first you start by lighting a flame. I invite one of our families, Bowden, Sabrina, James, to come forward in leading us in lighting the chalice, saying different words for our ritual just for today, but with the hope that it will be a source of strength for Grandy in her grief and for all of us as we live our lives.
Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and mysteries of this great gift.
Because of her great loss, Grandy knew this time her recipe for tear soup would call for a big pot. With a big pot, she would have plenty of room for all the memories, all the misgivings, all the feelings, and all the tears that she needed to stew in the pot for a long time. She put on her apron because she knew it would get messy. It seemed that grief is never clean. People feel misunderstood, feelings get hurt, and wrong assumptions are made all over the place. To make matters worse, grief always takes longer to cook than anyone wants it to. And then Grandy started to cry. At first, she sobbed. Sometimes she wept quietly, and sometimes when she was in a safe place where no one could hear, she even wailed. Her tears were the broth that helped to make the soup. Grandy knew she had to make much of this part of the soup alone. She learned from past experience that most people don't like tears. Her friends would worry if they knew just how many tears Grandy's recipe called for this time. So the old and somewhat wise woman reflected on her own special recipe as she looked down into the large, overflowing pot of memories. It was a task she would repeat many times during the next few months. Grandy winced when she took a sip of the broth. All she could taste was salt from her teardrops. It tasted bitter, but she knew this was where she had to start, and for now, it was the only thing on the menu.
Now, there were things that Grandy never wanted to forget. These included good times and bad times, the silly and sad times. With her arms full of memories, Grandy made trips back and forth to her pantry. One at a time, she slowly stirred all of her precious and not so precious memories into the pot, and eventually she ran out of things to add. But Grandy's arms ached, and she felt empty. There were no words that could describe the pain she was feeling.
What's more, when she was looking out the window, it surprised her to see how the rest of the world was going on as usual, while her world had stopped. Now, this is the time for children and youth in the room who would like to be a part of our story to come forward and help us here. Mary Beth, our stage manager, is standing with a bowl of candy. If each of you would please take two pieces of candy. Her grandchild, Collins, who just wanted their Grandy to be happy again, hoped their Halloween candy would make her feel better. So did all of Collins's friends. While touched by this sweet, yes, indeed sweet, gesture from her grandchild and their friends, sadly, even fair trade chocolate could not make her sadness go away. Still, this act of kindness reminded Grandy of her own sense of the spirit of life and helped Grandy feel a sense of being rooted at home. With that in mind, Liam will lead us in singing our next hymn, Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the land, giving life the shape of justice. Roots
Now, Grandy had a neighbor, Mrs. Knows-a-Lot. Do any of you have a neighbor named Mrs. Knows-a-Lot or Mix Knows-a-Lot? Now, this was not a nearby, but also not a faraway neighbor. And while good-hearted and well-intentioned, perhaps more often than not, it was a little bit hard to spend time with Mrs. Knows-a-Lot, even on the phone and even while texting. Mrs. Knows-a-Lot thought she knew what Grandy was going through, and she texted Grandy to remind her that she herself had been making tear soup for years and would be more than glad to come right over and show her how to make it the correct way. Thanks, no, Grandy texted back. This pot has my name on it. Grandy knew better than to let Mrs. Knows-a-Lot or anyone else tell her what she should do to get through this terrible loss.
There were days when Grandy hungered for a thoughtful ear. Sometimes she would surprise total strangers and ask,
"Care to join me in a bowl of tear soup?"
and there. Surprised, these strangers would reply,
No thanks. No time. Maybe later.
Even some of Grandy's friends hurried past her house and pretended not to notice the aroma of tear soup coming through her open door. Grandy found that most people can tolerate only a cup of someone else's tear soup. The bowl where Grandy could repeatedly share her sadness in great detail was left for a few willing friends.
"I'm here. I got here as fast as I could, and I'll be here whenever you need me." "I'm here. I got here as fast as I could, and I'll be here whenever you need me."
Oh, our batteries are out. It's red flashing. Isn't that nice? Yay. Still breathing like this. Okay. You're going to just this little into that.
"I'm here. I got here as fast as I could, and I'll be here whenever you need me." "What a tragedy. I'm sorry you're having to make such a big pot of soup." "Oh, what a relief."
Grandy knew she didn't have to be careful with the things she said around Midge. Midge wouldn't try to talk her out of anything she was feeling, and Grandy could even laugh and not worry that Midge would assume that Grandy was over her grief.
"Sorry, I couldn't get here sooner." "No problem. I've had plenty of help, but most of these friends will be history pretty soon. They'll be over my tragedy long before I am, but I know you'll still be around." "I don't know what to say, but I'll be glad to listen. Tell me all about it while we have some homemade bread to go along with your soup."
These two friends had shared 1,000 laughs and just as many tears, and they found great comfort in each other as well as in breaking bread together. And just as they have been finding comfort in this way, so are all of us who are here in the sanctuary invited to do so too. Today, as part of our spiritual practices, in addition to our regular offering, we will be holding what I am calling, but you don't have to, bread communion. Receiving the gift of generosity from fellow congregants who baked bread so that we might have it to share with each other this morning. All of it is torn into chunks that we might realize that there are rough times in our lives that sometimes leave us feeling torn inside. Yet we still show up for each other, and there can be sweet nourishment when that happens. Among the many kinds of bread here, there is gluten-free bread carefully labeled over on that side of the table. Let me tell you about our community partner with whom we are partnering this last time, all of throughout October, with whom we share values and who receives half of our financial generosity today. It's going to the Northeast Farmers of Color Land Trust, a BIPOC-led organization dedicated to positively impacting the health and wellness outcomes of BIPOC communities in the Northeast of what is now known as the United States. When you come forward, and you remember up the side aisles and back down the center, please remember that part of our spiritual practices include that of generosity, giving what we can, no more and no less. There are baskets at the top of each aisle that you can do that. As the music is playing, please come forward and partake in bread communion.
feel like I'm unraveling. I'm mad, I'm confused, I can't make any decisions. Nobody can make me feel good. I'm a mess. I just didn't realize it would be this hard. Why don't we go for a walk? I know exercise is supposed to help, but I feel like I have concrete blocks strapped to my legs. We'd better not go too far, or you'll have to carry me home.
How about just to get some autumn air in our lungs?
Yes, just the mailbox will do.
The two walked arm in arm, breathing in the crisp air. Let us fill this autumn air with the songs of love. Let us sing, There is a Love. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all I rest in this love. There is a love holding me. There is a love all that I love. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all we rest in this love.
Next, Grandy's recipe called for some comfort food. Now, everybody has their own version of comfort food. Best if we not yuck someone else's yum. Best for us to respect, even celebrate another person's idea of what brings them comfort. For Grandy, this meant mashed potatoes or ice cream, sometimes both, though not always at the same time. Comfort food always makes you feel better, at least for a little while. It gets past that big lump in your throat when other foods can't.
I think it needs some chocolate too.
After all, it was her soup. Grandy kept attending worship, even though she was mad at God, life, death, the community, and everyone. Sometimes she yelled at the universe and asked why this happened, and sometimes she demanded to know where God was when she was feeling so all alone still. Grandy trusted that all were connected in love, but she didn't understand God, love, the universe, or whoever was supposed to be doing all this holding. She sensed that people believed that if she really had faith or enough friends or the right attitude, she would be spared deep sorrow, anger, and loneliness. Grandy kept reminding herself to be grateful for all the emotions that swept into and out of her.
On some afternoons, people would ask questions like,
Is it soup yet? How long is it going to take? You have been at this for over a month now. It's time to get out of the kitchen.
Grandy fumed at the advice. Grandy looked forward to getting mail each day, and she dreaded the day when no more sympathy cards would come. Now, thank goodness that Grandy and Pops had been married such a long time. They already knew each other's tier soup would be different. Secretly, Grandy wished Pops would put more flavoring in his soup, but he didn't want to, and was perfectly content to dine alone and sip his own soup.
Making tier soup is hard work. Sometimes it was all she could think about. Even the things Grandy used to love to do, she didn't have the energy for, nor did she care about anymore. Some of Grandy's friends over the years had not tended to their tier soup. Their soup boiled over, and the pot scorched. What a mess. It took them a long time to clean up their pots and to start over. The smell of burnt soup still lingers in some of their homes.
Grandy knew there were times when she would need to take a break from her soup making. And even though it was hard to do, she forced herself to get away. Grandy had heard that a neighbor was having to take her turn at Tier Soup Kitchen. Some people thought that the neighbor was eating too much tier soup, so Grandy, being that more than somewhat wise person, called and invited her neighbor to spend time together. They gathered on Grandy's front deck, where the autumn leaves and open sky held their stories.
When we come together with others and offer our company to another, we create a wondrous love. Let us sing now together, rising in body or spirit, to recognize the power of companionship and community. Wondrous love is this, O my soul, O my soul. What wondrous love is this, O my soul. What wondrous love is this that brings my heart such bliss, and takes away the pain of my soul, and takes away the pain of my soul. When I was sinking down, when I was sinking down, when I was sinking down beneath my sorrow's ground, friends to me gathered.
After a while, Grandy and her new friend were feeling such love in the world, they decided to make a party of it, a special soup party where it's not bad manners to cry in your soup or to have second servings. The thoughtful cooks sat on Grandy's deck and discussed their own processes of making tear soup. Yes, some parts of making tear soup require that you be alone. And some parts require help from friends. They shared stories about soup making. They wouldn't dare tell anyone else for fear of being judged bad cooks. These people had become Grandy's new best friends.
One day, as Grandy and her grandchild were hanging out, when they asked,
Mom says you've been making tear soup. What does she mean?
Well, tear soup is a way for you to sort through all the different types of feelings and memories you have when you lose someone or something special. Remember when your baby brother died right before he was born and your mother sat for days holding his blanket and weeping? She was making tear soup. You made tear soup yourself by acting out your own disappointment when you shouted at Jason, wishing his brother would die too.
Grandy reminded her grandchild of other times of making tear soup, like the time when their friend Billy's dog died and Billy didn't want to play with Collins. Not feeling like fun is one of the ingredients of tear soup. Grandy reminded them of when their Aunt Meg got divorced and they had to move. There was a lot of tear soup simmering in that house. Some days when you're making tear soup, it's even hard to breathe. Some days you feel like running away. You just hope a better day comes along soon. And then comes one of the hardest parts of making tear soup.
When you decide it's maybe okay to eat something else instead of soup all the time.
Grandy, are you done making tear soup?
I don't think so. It is almost done though. I'll put the rest in the freezer and we'll pull it out from time to time to have a little taste.
So, what else have you learned by making tear soup, Grandy?
I've learned that grief, like a pot of soup, changes the longer it simmers and the more things you put into it.
Grandy also shared that she'd learned that sometimes people say unkind things that they don't really mean to hurt you, and that most importantly, she'd learned that there is something down deep within all of us to help us survive the things we can't survive, or that we think we can't. And then she said to that beloved grandchild of hers,
When I die, I know you will be sad, because we love each other so very much. But I will leave you my recipe for good tear soup, and you'll make it your own.
You'll make it your own. We gather in community for many reasons, and some of them are joyful, some of them are urgent, some of them are sorrowful. We gather in community to make space for death, for loss, for griefs, because the recipe calls us, yes, sometimes to be alone, and yes, sometimes to come together. And this coming Wednesday evening is our annual service of loss and remembrance. It's another space for this congregation and for the wider community to allow ourselves to slow down, to notice, to bring ritual to this very human happening, grief and loss and comforting each other. This Wednesday, beginning at 7 p.m. here in the sanctuary, also being live streamed. The choir from this congregation will be performing, and you are invited, if you come in person, to bring a photo. There will be a chance to display and honor a loved one whom you've lost. Making tear soup calls for many ingredients and many ways of combining ingredients. And as a loving spiritual home, we affirm that one of these ways is music, is singing.
And so we are going to collectively embody three things all at once: our extinguishing of the chalice, the benediction, and the postlude. We will do it through singing the hymn number 1051 in the Teal hymnal written by Dr. Issei Barnwell, We Are, a hymn that reminds us we are all part of long lines that stretch back with our ancestors and forward with those who come next. Please rise in body or in spirit. Number 1051 in the Teal hymnal. Yes. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe, oh, we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe, oh, we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe, oh, we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe, oh, we are. Please join us at coffee hour after the postlude. I'm going to speak a little bit slowly because Carl again has to travel to the organ.
Coffee hour is actually downstairs, not outside.
So please join us at coffee hour downstairs, not outside. And be sure to thank all the people, the youth and adults alike, who brought us this morning's worship service. You may be seated. Any second now will be.
I fell in love with you guys again today. Thank you.